me. In 2015, in January 2015, I was diagnosed with stage 3 esophageal cancer, and only 1 in 4 survived. My prognosis was not good. And even with the treatments that were going to be pretty barbaric, they were giving me approximately 2 years of life. So we went through that, and I had chemoradiation simultaneously for 6 weeks. After that, I prepared for a surgery that was a 10-hour surgery. It's called the Beast in the medical field, most barbaric surgery known to mankind. And the 10-hour surgery involved removing the esophagus, 21 lymph nodes, deflating my right lower chamber of my lungs so that my diaphragm could be pulled over and placed there. My stomach was stretched, through the diaphragm and pulled up to my throat right about here, where my collarbone is, and attached with my colon, part of my colon. I had blood transfusions, went through the whole thing. I was sent, even after my hospital stay of 10 days, was sent home, being fed through my intestines through tubes. So anyway, we had a lot of complications through the whole thing too. There were just numerous complications, one after the other. And, we all invest in our medical insurance in the medical field to take good care of us, but sometimes they let us fall through the cracks. So to make a long story short, they told my husband at one point that they would just keep me comfortable with medication until I passed. There was nothing else that they could do. And so we were making...
So I just need to stop you for a moment there, because what you told us is so traumatic already before we even go on with the conditions that you had. And when a loved one is told there's nothing we can do just to keep her comfortable, that is majorly significant. So I'm sure for your husband, it was a very desperate time in his life.
It was, and he was an amazing partner through it all. We had been together several years, but we had also just gotten married 17 days prior to the diagnosis. So we were to start a really big adventure together. And here we were being told it was going to end. So anyway, my husband and my sister said, that's unacceptable. You can't quit on her. She can't quit on her. But secretly inside, I did have one foot in the dirt. I was giving up, and I was that diagnosis. So I went to an acupuncturist. My sister helped. I went and found another form of energy medicine, and I have to promote energy medicine. Energy medicine helps our body do what it was meant to do in the first place. And that made a significant change in my life, significant. So as I moved on and I got better and better, I was one of the 4 that was surviving. And my family supported me and they worked with me. I've been on a lifetime disability. In the surgery, they also severed the vagus nerve. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but it controls the transmission from the brain to your cardio, your respiratory, your fight or flight, your digestive, and the pelvic area for anything going on in the pelvic area, including sexual. So my communication was cut off. And so all of these systems sporadically would go in different directions all the time. And I didn't know what was wrong until I found out that's what they did. And so we started to work with that. So
discovered.
I'm sorry?
How was that discovered?
Actually, I found out through a support group through Europe that they do that. And I called my surgeon and said, do you purposely sever the vagus nerve? And she said, why would you even want to know? And I said, because I'm trying to live and I'm trying to teach the other 3 how they can survive. And I have a perpetual cough over production of mucus, so I would vomit a lot. Just a lot of things were crazy. Dumping syndrome, where you would just have diarrhea and throwing up simultaneously without warning. I would go into fight or flight and just not know how to calm or react. And so once I realized they cut the vagus nerve because it webs out over those lymph nodes, I then knew what I was dealing with. So then I could find ways to help, work with that. And the PEMF device I was using, I was putting on different systems that were having trouble, and I was kind of balancing them out, kind of doing a pseudo, transmission to them. And that worked out really well, but I was still suffering cognitively from the brain damage that comes with cancer treatment. And it was very difficult for me. I mean, I even had my ex-husband came over and he helped me pretty much learn how to drive and make decisions again in a car and where to find things because my brain was so damaged. So at one point of using the patches, probably about 5.5 months, I was at a friend, Sharon Robinson's house with Carol and a bunch of other people. And somebody asked a question. And usually I stay in the background on these things, but all of a sudden I popped out and I answered the question in great length and explained it. And I started to cry because I could never do that before. I couldn't read a page on a book and explain what I read. And I had come from a big corporate job and, dealing with multi-million-dollar contracts and legal forms. And here I felt like anybody who met me after cancer just thought I was dumb. And I wasn't dumb. I was just locked inside myself. So that has continued to get very good, much better. I have to sleep sitting up because I have no flaps. I can aspirate and it can go into my lung. The stomach acids, even when I eat, I can't bend right over and tie my shoes. I have to wait for that food to work its way down because I have no flaps. The stomach comes right here. The overproduction of mucus and coughing was an issue. I was coughing and having trouble breathing all the time. My scars from my esophagectomy are brutal. They're kind of almost like an open heart surgery. It's from the sternum down to the belly button. And then the back was a large scar, 2 large scars from drain tubes and from them operating on the lung where they permanently deflate it. The other scars were up under the breasts where all the drain tubes were. And so for 7 years, I haven't been able to wear a bra. And that might not seem like a big deal to anybody else, but socially going places, I was very uncomfortable. I'm about to turn 58 years old. I don't have aftermarket parts. Everything's factory. So things don't set where they used to be. And I didn't feel comfortable just not having things in place. And I had to really struggle to dress accordingly to actually feel confident to go somewhere. I can say happily now that that has changed. And past several months, and I'm wearing undergarments and things like that for 8, 9 hours, 10 hours at a time, where I couldn't keep them on 15 minutes because of the nerve pain and the scar tissue. So that's amazing. My mucus and throwing up and the coughing at night has decreased tremendously. I have still remained off of 14 medications that I had been on, some for 20 years before the cancer was diagnosed. And I don't take any prescribed drugs. I really don't even take supplements. I'm on patches. And it's been beautiful. I had the back surgery, like I said, barely any scars. My cognitive is amazing. It's just getting stronger and better every day, which is so exciting. The hair, the skin has improved. I put on healthy weight. I was very underlooked. I looked sick, even though I looked healthy and I was in a great place from where I came from. I still wasn't the same or in a place. I didn't feel whole. And I didn't feel alive inside. Whereas now I put on healthier weight. I feel like I'm the very best version of me ever.